All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, one of them today. The special meeting of the Board of Education for May 20th, 24 is called to order. All items being considered this evening are posted on the PPS website under the board and meeting tabs. The meeting is being live streamed on PPS TV service website and on channel 28 and will be replayed throughout the next 2 weeks. Please check the district website for replay times. Once again, welcome. Thank you guys for all being here this evening. Before we get started, I want to share a few housekeeping reminders. Bathrooms is over to your left in the back. We also see that we have a large invested crowd this evening. So in order to ensure safety, please keep walkways and aisles clear. Additionally, we would like to emphasize that our primary objective is to engage in the business and service of our children. We want everyone to be examples of respectful and courteous to each other during board members, including board members, even when we disagree. Tonight, we will start with an update on the superintendent search. And then we'll follow it by the consent agenda and then a preview of the transfer appropriations in the 2023-24 budget. And finally, the vote to approve the 24-25 school year budget. So here's the update on the next superintendent for Portland Public Schools. We have shared throughout our regular community messaging, whether it's been email or our website. On May 4th, we went into executive session and we reviewed applicants that submitted for the superintendent job. We chose 5 candidates to interview on May 13th, and we will be announcing the finalists tomorrow. We have 3 finalists that we picked for tomorrow that will come out tomorrow. Next week, we'll offer a chance for, that's my baby, sorry. Next week, we will offer a chance for the community to meet the finalists at a community meet and greet at Grant High School. This will begin at 6:30 p.m. Following the event, the board will conduct our final interviews with the candidates with plans to deliberate an executive session on June 1st. Really important that we have our community come out and really interact with the next superintendents. There's going to be feedback, things taken as well, so that then they're going to report that to the board so we can get a sense of what the community is saying about the candidates, and we'll take those in consideration when we make our final choice on June 1st. So please come out. Once again, that's Grant High School on the 28th? 28th at 6:30 p.m. All right, so now we will vote on the consent agenda. Board members, are there any items you would like to pull for discussion? We will set those aside for next time. All right, hearing none. Ms. Bradshaw, is there any changes to consent agenda? Ms. Powell.
No.
All right, do I have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Director Brim Edwards moves, Director DePass seconds the adoption of the consent agenda. Ms. Powell, is there any public comments on the consent agenda?
Yes, we have one person, Nicole Duncan.
All right. Is she in person or is she online?
I believe she's in person.
What was her name again?
Nicole Duncan.
Nicole Duncan. Okay. So she's not here. The board will now vote on resolution 6911 through 6916. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right. All opposed? All right. The consent agenda may be, as amended, is approved by a vote of 7-0. Oh, there you go, Superintendent Dr. Huss. Hello, I just wanted to let everyone know that our superintendent is out, but she is online with us, participating. Hello, Dr. Huss.
Good evening, Chair Hollins, and to the board, and
I'm actually not out. I'm just inside a different room from you guys, enjoying you on the screen.
All right. Next, we have a preview of the transfer appropriations in the 23-24 budget. Interim Superintendent Huss, Dr. Huss, would you like to please introduce this item?
Yes, I'm going to introduce Interim Chief of Staff Leslie Odell. She and staff member Kristen are going to come to the front there, and they will make a few statements and then see if you have any questions.
Good evening, directors. I'm Interim Chief of Staff Leslie Odell. And as outlined in the staff report, this technical adjustment within Fund 200 for fiscal year 24 is to correctly align anticipated expenditures to budgeted appropriations in preparation of the spending out of ESSER by the end of this fiscal year. This will be presented for a vote on June 11th. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Just for the purpose of clarity, explain like in layperson's term what this does.
My name is Kristen Johnson. I am the grants manager here at PPS, so I can explain that for you. We decided this year to transition to spend out ESSER by June 30 in order to ensure that we spend every dollar and not leave anything on the table. Using existing expenditures in our budget, not new projects, we're going to leverage existing expenditures and move them to ESSER, which ultimately helps our beginning fund balance for fiscal year 25. In doing this, though, however, we go out of appropriations. Appropriations are the budgeted levels of what we can spend within instruction, within student support services, community services, other categories. ESSER primarily sits within student support services, so by transitioning to spend out all of our ESSER this year, we would go over the appropriation of spending allowed within student services, support services, under that 20,000 functional category. So we just needed to move where the money is budgeted for expenditures from other categories there, so we don't go outside of appropriations to ensure we're spending correctly within our means.
Does this have
Yeah,
any? Go
I
ahead.
just like to clarify for me and probably for everybody that we had to spend all those ESSER funds. We could not carry them over. Correct.
Yes, so the end date for ESSER is September 30, 2024. We have, as a district, decided to try to spend out by June 30 because that only gives us about a 3-month window and mostly summer programming to be able to spend out the rest. And so by spending out by June 30 this year, it ensures we use every penny. And this also came out of a decision from Oregon Department of Ed where they announced they would not allow for any late liquidation or extensions. So we're just making sure we do our due diligence to spend all of our ESSER allocated to us in a timely manner.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now the board is now convened as the budget committee. The purpose of tonight is to approve the superintendent's proposed budget for the 24-25 school year. Interim Superintendent Huss.
Yes, thank you, Chair Hollins. I am going to present to you a brief summary of the budget process that you've already seen, and also going to share some of the changes in the budget that have been put forward. But after quite a bit of conversation with each of the board members and several community members, there seem to have been a lot of questions and concerns about the ResJ budget and particularly the contracts that go to our community-based organizations. So I've asked Dr. Adams if he would come to the front and share some words with you, and then we'll move into the presentation.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Husk. Good evening, board directors. I wanted to share some information as Dr. Husk mentioned, there's been a great deal of interest in the PPS ResJ budget and our contracted services. for the coming school year. As you're aware, we partner with community-based organizations to provide culturally specific support to our students of color across the district. Our CBOs provide an invaluable support system for Black and brown students and families, and we are grateful for the board's support in our partnership over the years. At the board's request, our current contract proposals do include accountability measures connected to student outcomes. In the current year, the Res Day budget for CBO contracts is $8.8 million. In the proposed budget for next year, the Res Day budget is projected to be $7 million, which is a $1.8 million reduction. In April, the Res J department released a request for proposals for the next 3 school years of contracting, since all current contracts end on June 30. This was, of course, happening at the same time as the superintendent's budget proposal. So we have parallel tracks of work at play. Each CBO proposal was ranked and scored by a team of cross-departmental staff. The top-ranked organizations were provided a notice of intent to award letter. The total amount of all proposals across the CBOs was $17 million. And again, the proposed Res J budget for next year is $7 million. So we had to make some hard choices. When determining proposed award amounts and schools or services would be provided, the following question was posed. How do we serve the largest number of Black and brown students across the most schools with reduced funding? Similar to the overall budget approach, staff have attempted to minimize the impact to students by not eliminating any one program, but asking programs to be leaner in their approach. We considered each CBO and proposed contracts that would allow us to serve Black and brown students across PPS to the greatest extent possible. Achieving this meant that some funding had to be redistributed from our current largest contracted amounts. The proposals that the CBOs have received are PPS counter proposals, and we are still in the negotiating phase. Please know that these contracts are not scheduled for board approval tonight, and in fact aren't scheduled for board approval until the second meeting in June. There's still time for us to make adjustments prior to the board contract approval, and we're looking into that. Thank you.
All right, is there any board discussion?
Yes. So thank you. I was looking at the data and everything that you sent out, and I started going through the contracts, the different ones that were there, and what I began to see is when I started looking at it, of all the stuff that was there, the reason that SEI was an issue for me, and I'm just going to state it bluntly, is that they received a 65% reduction. And when you start looking at 65%, understanding that they're serving anywhere from 400 to 500 kids a year, and you start thinking about we're going to cut away 65% of that budget, then we have to start equally saying, well, how many students does that equate to? How many people are not going to be served? How many people aren't going to get support? And then I started looking at all the other ones that we have here, and I started noticing that we have over 10 organizations that have never have done anything with us, and then they're getting combined together 1.66 million and some change. And what we're removing from SEI and theirs was 1.4 million, 1.413 million. And I began to ask myself, are we building these other programs, giving them the opportunity to do what they could be doing on the back of SEI, in that we're taking money from SEI so that we can fund all of these other organizations that they don't even have a current agreement with us. So I understand the idea of we didn't want to let anybody go, but we added 10. And so that was a whole other thing. Then I said, okay, well, maybe that's not the case. Maybe what they were doing is they were giving everybody a little bit and some. So then I started going back through and I started looking at the numbers again. And it looks like of the organizations here, we have 5 of them that received an increase that was above what they were currently doing. And when I totaled that up, that was 1.215 million. So then I was thinking, okay, so then we're giving the increase to these different smaller organizations on the back of SEI, because it's the 1.4 million is a large number. No other organization in this list has received a reduction that is that significant. No organization. I've gone through, I've looked at each and every one of them, and nobody has received a cut of what that is. And so when I started looking and we started playing the averages, because it's, you know, it's math at the end of the day. The money ain't, it's, you either have money or you don't have money, right? And so I'm like, at first I was like, man, 17 million is a lot of money. But that was 17 million was what they proposed. We didn't start the year with 17 million. We started with 8 and then we went to 7. So we're really looking at $1 million and some change reduction. And then we added all this other new stuff that made it go up to 17. So that actually started making sense. But the average decrease was anywhere from 25 to 28% for everybody else, with the exception of SEI and Latino Network. Latino Network received about a 45% reduction. And again, so I'm left to ask myself, you know, and this is why I had issue. Latino Network is, let's see. 40. Yeah. A 40. So 40%. Forgive me. It's close enough, bro. Close enough. So for a district that says that we want to, we're going to make sure that we do everything that we can to uplift the Black and brown community, those that are most marginalized, those most underserved, it seemed counterintuitive to me that we would then come back and say, but we can't give y'all all this money. So we gotta take it and we go give some money to all these other organizations. Yeah. So that was my struggle. It's not sitting well with me that we're going to hurt the Black community and at the same time say we're helping the Black community. It's counterintuitive. It's like, take what we're giving you and shut up. That's what I was. And so that's the struggle. That's the struggle that I had, because we can't say that we're for you and hurt you at the exact same time. And this is something that I feel that could be avoided, which is why I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it at all. I got a bunch of issues with it, and that's just my simple math from getting the information when I got it today. If I had more time to spend with it, I think I could dissect it even more, because then I want to look at, of the people that they're proposed to serve, what is the makeup of those students? What is the makeup of that community? And since we started looking at stuff from a weighted system, because that's how we're looking at a weighted system, then what is the weight of the students that we're going to be hurting in this? Because you start thinking about low-income communities, you start thinking about single-parent homes, you start thinking about non-speaking learners, you start thinking about people that, they may have other siblings that they're caring for within a home. There's a whole bunch of factors that we take. I'm bothered by it. And so that's why I reached out. What I'm saying ain't new. It's not like this was a new conversation. I brought this up to people before we got here. I just also said whatever I say out there, I need to say publicly, because I don't want it to be a secret. And yeah, I'm not feeling it at all. Like, there's no part of me that wants to approve this moving forward, knowing that this is like this. And so that's where I sit with it.
How do you really feel about it, though?
Just a question for Dr. Adams. So approving the budget doesn't actually approve contracts. Those would all be, any contract over 150,000 comes to the board for approval, correct?
Yes, and that would be the second meeting in June. And so we still have time, as I mentioned, I still have time to work with Dr. Osk and the team.
Do I have a question? So by the time it comes to us, though, the negotiations have already been done, right?
Negotiations are completed and contract proposals have been returned to the district, yes, sir.
So what's the mechanism now for us to, as a board, to say, hey, this is what we want to focus on?
Chair Hollins, if I could speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, once we get a chance to process as a team, I will come to you and Vice Chair Green and propose some back and forth interactions to be sure board members' opinions are included in some of the proposals we're going to talk to people about. So we will keep you in the loop, I promise.
Thank you. I have
Gary?
a comment too. So thank you for doing the math on that. I got this afternoon. I didn't have a chance to look at the spreadsheet. But as I'm looking at the different organizations, I was trying to look at, see if other organizations, one of the questions I had for you or for Dr. Husk this morning was the percent decrease. And it's not a decrease, it is a decrease, but it's the percent difference between what the CBO requested and what's been proposed. And there's some high numbers in here, including the Boys and Girls Club at 86%, and iUrban Teen, for instance. And also, I want everybody to know there's like 11 other Black-serving organizations in the list that are all receiving funds. And I guess the good news is that there's still some time to negotiate, and I would be interested too in figuring out, I mean, all of these Black-serving organizations are competing for a smaller bucket of money, and it makes it really difficult for all of these. Some of these are very small organizations, and so the dollars represent a large part of their budget. So I'd be interested in learning more, and also exactly, Dr. Husk, how we plan to prioritize the allocations.
Yes, I think that's an important question. And I also think it's important. I'm guessing that some of the organizations, you know a lot more about their work because of the history with the district, and others may be newer. So we need to find a way to summarize some of the things we saw in the proposal so that you have that insight as well.
Well, I was looking at the executive summary, and one of our approaches to budgeting was, one, minimize the impact of those reductions that we'll have on students, but the other one, which was continue initiatives that have boosted student achievement. So if we're looking at that, if we're going by those metrics of our budget piece with SEI, and I'm only spinning them out because that's the information I have, is at a 98% graduation rate, why wouldn't we be holding true to our second principle?
This news came to me this weekend, Chair Hollins, and I hear your concerns. I promise we're going to work on it. I don't have all of the proposals and the achievements that they have in their proposals. I just need some time to sit with the team, and then we will circle back with you. But I didn't want to start the overall budget presentation with any confusion that you're actually approving or not approving these proposals tonight. You are not doing that. If the budget passes tonight, the approval is that there will be $7 million in the ability for us to allocate to the community unless there's an amendment coming forward. And I don't think I know I'm not personally ready for that this evening.
Gary? Yes, I would just like to reiterate what Director DePaz said. There are a lot of smaller groups that do serve Black and brown people, so we have to recognize that too. And so I think what Dr. Husk was saying is we have to look at everybody. So I hope we do that.
Chair Hollins, would you like me to move into the general presentation, or did
Yes,
you want
go
to have
ahead.
any dialogue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adams. And I don't know who is moving the PowerPoint for me this evening, but I'll wait to see the first screen come up. Thank you, Gino. So just a reminder, this is the 24-25 approved budget, and we understand that it's a very, very challenging year in so many ways, but it's also a resilient community that has achieved quite a bit of positive work over time throughout the history of the district. I'm going to go over some of the budget development highlights. You can go ahead, Gino. You've seen this all before. I am the interim superintendent. These have been some of my recommendations, having served as a superintendent for close to 20 years now. This is a remarkable school district. It's a community that's very committed to their children and to having a robust curriculum and program offerings in a variety of content areas and ways to support kids. It's also a district that's weathered historic challenges and has demonstrated that we will get through this together. And I like to say, when we have tough conversations, it's not a matter of whether we will get through it, we will. It's how we'll feel about it on the other side. So I hope that we can continue to have robust dialogue and then come to some consensus. On the next slide, I'm highlighting that we're building on the strengths of the community. I've been personally involved in helping unite other leaders in Oregon that recognize our problems with funding, representing Portland Public. I'm leaning on problem solving and looking at the vision. Oh, go ahead. You're fine. Going ahead. Our guiding principles were to try, with an emphasis on try, to minimize the impact on students. We know this will have an impact on students. We know it's painful, and we're trying to do it with the best support systems that we can. And you're right, one of the board members just mentioned, I think it was Chair Hollins, continuing the initiatives that support student achievement, including our partnership programs. We have had multiple community engagement. We've had general information sharing. This is a summary of all the activities that we've done. There were some surveys. There was central office engagement, student council, budget committee, tribal consultation, and then we've had multiple comment sessions and hearings. Some of them we've had great amounts of people signing up to testify and provide great insight for us, and others where we did not get quite as much participation, but the opportunities have been there. There are some changes from the proposed budget that are summarized here. We're always making adjustments after we do the initial projections. We get the May adjustment from the state. We start closing out some of the books on our own spending. So this is a summary of some of those changes. And then on the next slide, we will highlight the next steps. This is not official until the TSCC hearing and budget adoption is done. And then the budget implementation and monitoring begins beginning July 1. And I'm recommending that the incoming superintendent immediately start planning for the values conversations with board members and community members, because this has been a tough year. 25-26 budget building is going to be much tougher. We're looking at least a $40 million deficit, and we will already be fairly down the line of some of the painful cuts. So I'm hoping that we can have a longer time period than I had to talk about what's important to the board and the community. So with that, that's a summary I have, and I will pause for Chair Hollins to take back over the floor for questions and discussion. And Juno, you can take this last slide down so I have the opportunity to see the room again. Thank you for your help.
All right, thank you, Interim Dr. Huss. I just want to get a motion to adopt Resolution 6917, Budget Committee Approval for 24-25 budget and the imposition of property taxes.
So moved.
Brim Edward moves.
Second.
Sullivan. Director Sullivan seconds, sorry. I'm getting you mixed up with Frankie. All right. Ms. Bradshaw, is there any public comment?
Yes. We'll call the first four first. They're Samantha Tomas, Christina Gomez, Miranda Morales, and Mercedes Elizalde.
Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. My name is Samantha Tamas. I work downstairs in the print shop. I don't know how many parents in here have used us or gotten anything that we have made. Like your calendars, the beautiful budget books you all have, workbooks. Anything and everything that your child brings home, usually that's on paper, we do. Because of this budget, it's gone. They're closing the print shop. So any certificates that your child may have, you're not going to get them unless you can print them at home. This piece of paper here, if you look, you can see $469,000. That's what the district has paid in printing from the print shop. If you go through a vendor, the lowest vendor was $1.9 million. $469,000, and that's not the end of the year yet. But if you go to an outside vendor, which you're going to have to do because most of the printers they're going to put in the schools cannot do half of the work that we do. Anything that has to be saddle stitched, which is calendars, sketchbooks, kindergarten books that they want to bring home that they color in, anything like that, you have to vend it out because the printers will not do those. A lot of vendors don't do black and white. They only do color. These are coming up in the next month. Everybody who's got a graduation, you'll have these because of us. Now next year, I don't know what you're going to do with these. I don't know if you're going to have to vend them out. But you're talking, today I did roughly 9,000 of them. Think about that. They wanted to do color instead this year because they're shutting us down. They decided to go with black and white. If you look on the back of this page, it's going to show you in yellow, this is the print shop. If you look at the rest of it, this is what it's going to cost you to vend out work. This doesn't include our pay, which is close to $500,000 for 5 people who work their butts off down in that print shop. But yet they want to save that $500,000 and then whatever the contract is for the printing, the printers, that they're going to put into the schools, that now the secretaries and the teachers are going to have to try to print calendars, workbooks, and anything else that needs to be done that's going to take away from secretaries who have to scan all of the records for students. They're not going to have time to do that because they're going to be printing books, and then they have to turn around and bind them. Bookmarks for the libraries, we do those. All the kids' little, like when they do good in class, how many get little stickers and little tickets in their classrooms? Most kids, most little kids. We print all those. Well, I glue all those. I drill all those. And then we send them out. You're talking hundreds of thousands of them. You're going to have to vend out because they want to close the print shop to save, I don't know, maybe $1.9 million. But over the school year, you're going to spend over $4 million because you're shutting the print shop down because you have to vend everything out. The beautiful posters you see in every school, we do those. We print them, we laminate them, we ship them. If you look on that piece of paper, some vendors are charging $10 a square foot. We charge $1.50. That doesn't include the lamination, which is pennies. But yet you're going to be paying $2, $3, $4 to laminate square foot.
Thank you.
I didn't know if you all knew that they were shutting the print shop down. I figured I would let it be known because nobody's gotten back to anybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, I'm Cristina Gomez. I just want to say something in Spanish real quick. Tengo que leer esta carta en inglés y me siento muy mal, pero lo estoy apoyando a todas las familias latinas en PPS. Entonces aquí voy. I just wanted to let my Latino families know that I'll be reading this in English. Good afternoon, Superintendent and members of the board. We are Latino parents from Fabian School, from the affinity group Hora de Café, which means coffee hour. We have been participating for several years in monthly meetings where we're learning how to advocate for our children despite huge language barriers in a safe and supportive setting. We are here to demand that more support be added for Fabian's Latino students. Our Latino student population is the highest at Fabian, and we know that there are funds that can be invested for support programs. At Fabian, there is Sol program offered by Latino Network, and they are doing an amazing job. Unfortunately, it's only half hour once a week, and that is not enough. We know that Latino Network also offers conexiones for middle school students. We ask that you consider adding the conexiones program at Fabian. Between the two programs, Sol and Conexiones, they will be able to serve more Latino students. Our concern is that at Fabian, there is not enough support for students who are Latino and do not speak English. Latino students are the ones who are disciplined and harmed the most for quote-unquote bad behavior. And there is a lot of aggression and bullying between students. By adding the Conexiones program at Fabian, you will help offer emotional support that is culturally appropriate. Students will benefit, parents will be more satisfied, and you will invest in the students' education and future. Together, we will help students be successful in school and their communities. We please beg you to add Conexiones at Fabian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Miranda Morales. I work with Latino Network, running Sol. I have the privilege of being able to work with two coordinators from Conexiones at Ockley Green and at George, also at Tubman. These are high-need schools, especially those schools, very high needs. Something that I've noticed just within my time with Latino Network is the high need for community partners. We are able to offer an environment for students that create a sense of belonging and identity. Maybe they're not able to find that anywhere else in Portland. There's a number of things that are beyond educators' roles in students' lives. This includes poverty, food insecurity, mental health, gun violence, and even seeing their families and their community members have to deal with these things. This affects the children, and you can see it every day. There are lower amount of resources for Spanish-speaking students, and this is very apparent when I get asked by staff if I have resources for them, when I don't usually, because there's not that many. Getting rid of specific programs such as Conexiones and Juntos Aprendemos is taking away an inclusive and equitable space for these students to thrive. While Conexiones focuses on social and emotional learning, building community, and resourcing, Juntos Aprendemos focuses on literacy for Spanish-speaking students, and that is very important when you're coming to a country that no one might understand what you're saying. By building these skills early on, it helps them grow into their future, which for Latino students and Black students, Not a lot of people see futures for them. While it's complicating to have to make decisions for thousands of students, is it truly in the best interest to get rid of programs that are helping a certain demographic? And what happens when these programs are cut and halt the progress that the students are making? Something I noticed from the budget, I don't know budgets, but something that I noticed is that a lot of the schools that have high needs are the ones that have lower state percentage on testing. So I asked the questions, are schools being cut off from valuable resources, tools, and positive role models when they have such a high need for community partners and the benefits that they bring? It truly takes a village, but when there is not a village, the ones who are vulnerable suffer the most. That is the students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, board. My name is Mercedes Elizalde. I work at Latino Network. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I do want to mention two things right at the beginning. We heard staff say that their attempt was to not cut programs, but to really just spread things thinner. But that is, in fact, not the case. In Latino Network, the Juntos program was completely divested from in the budget proposals that were returned. There was also mention that there was negotiations happening. Those negotiations are not happening with community-based organizations. We were given a budget and we were told to make it work and to return in a scope of work at 5 o'clock today. And we got that information late last week. Right now, the Juntos program, the staff and the families are not here. They're not here because they're in program today. And they would not cut program to be here today. They continue to maintain their commitment to the families, regardless of the budget cut that has been decided. As you heard from one of the other speakers, unfortunately, Conexiones is not coming to Fabian because Conexiones is also being cut. There will be fewer and fewer caring adults in these buildings. During a round of focus groups Latino Network conducted earlier this year, predominant recommendation was to bring more caring adults into the schools, more people to be there for educational progress, parent engagement. This is how we build safety in schools, is more caring adults in schools. Approving the budget right now with RESJ where it is, knowing that it is not enough, is the same as defunding these programs. And although your staff are telling you that they don't have time to deal with an amendment right now, you can ask them to make time. You can ask them to look again at the numbers that they have brought you and the proposals that they have set and say we want to do more for our students, not less. A leaner budget can only be built if we're told that that's what we're going to be proposing. We were not told to propose lean budgets. We were told to propose what it takes to do this work, and that's exactly what we did. We did not provide outlandish proposals of things that are not necessary to be funded. And to say that it is okay to defund these programs because we're going to invest in smaller scale investments someplace else is telling Black and brown youth that they should always have a small amount of investment. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I think you're going to hear a lot more from other folks as well. And I hope that you can make an amendment to this budget, and I hope that you can do what's right for the students.
Thank you.
Melissa McCoy, Ana Munoz, Angela Bonilla.
Melissa, but we actually have a student here who would like to speak instead.
I'm here as support to my student. Before they started, I just say this: we were under the impression that we were not going to have the opportunity to speak. But we got kids that need to go back at 7 o'clock, so I just wanted to put that on record.
My name is Armando Tolentino. I'm a senior at Roosevelt High School. I've been part of the Escalera program for 3 years, and how this program has helped me and others is understanding ourselves and self-maturing and not being afraid of our culture and being embarrassing and being responsible, and as well as thinking of our future, as well as our advocates and father figures to us. They have supported us day and night, blood, sweat, and tear, pushing us to become better people with these opportunities that most students don't have, and helping us with mental health, as well as keeping us safe. And most students don't really want to go home because there's family problems and so much going on in their head, as well as for me, how they helped me so much with, I wasn't really thinking about going to college and, not thinking about my future until they pushed me, and they keep on pushing me. How the program does check-ins with students and want to know and want to help us what's going on in our lives, what can they help to change anything, small or big. And during finals, he was here at school with us till 8 p.m. helping us so we can succeed, and helping last year's students. Most students weren't going to graduate, but he helped us. He helped those students. He didn't give up on these students. The teacher probably did, but he didn't. And as well as without this program, I feel like I wouldn't be that successful. I wouldn't put all the work and the effort and for my future as well, and these other kids' futures. Losing this program would really impact the Hispanic community and those who can't advocate for themselves, with finding, like, obviously language barriers. And for most of these students he's connected with, they've loved him and support him in everything. And they would be alone with their high school experience and be left out. And everything he has done for me has been amazing.
Thank you.
I would like to add something, because I'm so proud of this guy. He's graduating this year, and he's going to PSU.
So, thank you for your testimony. Before we get started, how many youth want to speak tonight? No. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure, because we usually have a youth. Okay. So if a youth want to speak, I would love for them to come up. Get a little grace for them to come up and speak. I want to definitely hear from our youth. Just state your name, spell out your last name, and you got 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay. I'm Dakai Davis, Dahki Davis. I just finished my sophomore year at college, so I'm at Clark Atlanta University, but I just got back in town last night. So yeah, today I just came by with my aunt. She let me know that SCI told them to show up today, because PPS is losing funding. I seen the static of it on social media with, like, Jefferson Dancers. I was a Jefferson Dancer for about 3 years, so, like, I seen that they were losing funding and stuff like that, and gonna have, teachers be removed. And then when I heard the SEI the funding was going down with SEI and different departments that are helping out the public Portland School District, it was a concern because I'm a black young man here. I grew up here, born and raised in Self-Enhancement Inc., my whole life. My dad did, me and my brother did, and I'm in school right now, so clearly something good came out of it, and that funding has helped me every step of the way, get me to where I am, and I see that it's helping students that's right behind me, reach their goals day by day, every year, connecting with new students, branching out with different schools. I know they done touch schools all the way in North Portland now, and that wasn't happening when I was in school. So to see the growth with the company, it's inspiring. It's inspiring because it's they show that they want us. They show that they want more out of students, kids that look like me, to do more, to be successful, and having that support, with the stuff that's going on with the world, it's what we need, to have encouragement, because at the end of the day, being in this world, it don't set us up to succeed, and SEI, gives us that backbone, gives us that confidence, to want to be something in our life outside of just Portland, and to have that courage to come back and help out like they do year after year after year. So with the funding being decreased, it's sad. It's real sad because SEI is Portland, Oregon. There's no Portland, Oregon without SEI. I'm Portland, Oregon. Mr. Deloney's Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon is SEI year after year after year. Start off as a basketball camp, and look at us now. They do HBCU college tours, historically black college universities. Black kids need to experience that. It's students that are going on these tours, getting inspired, who maybe thought freshman year, I'm not going to college, who get to senior year and apply for multiple schools, multiple scholarships to where they can go to a HBCU, historically black college university. So without that support, what is Portland? What is Portland Public School District that have came in and helped out at different schools for so many years, to where losing that funding would be losing the whole district, if you ask me.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Patton, and I go to Jefferson High School. I am a junior. My mom works for SEI, and I'm in foster care, and she adopted me. And the funding that is given to SEI also helps with the way that I live. So, to me, this is personal. When you take away from SEI, since SEI is family, you're taking away from me, you're taking away from my family. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Torgerson. I'm a junior. My mom was a single mom my whole life, and SEI was the first program I actually saw put in the work to help her in any way, shape, or form with me and my brothers. Also, when I got kicked out of school my sophomore year, I made many complaints to many people, including this office. I called the PPS office, and nobody seemed to really care at all, except for SEI. My SEI coordinator picked me up, she made the meetings, she got me back into school, and she did everything she had to do, morning, day, or night, filled out all the papers, she got me back into school. I can't say that if SEI wasn't here, I would even be in school right now. I would even have the chance to get an education at all. So I feel like with cutting this funding, you're basically telling us we don't care at all. Because for SEI, for a lot of us, it's like home. It's somewhere where you feel safe. I don't remember feeling safe in school until I joined SEI. At all.
Thank you. Just say your name and spell your last one.
My name is Destiny Bentley, Bentley. I am a senior at Jefferson High School, and I'm 18.
Demos.
And as you guys were playing the presentation, just kind of you guys speaking about how you guys don't want to impact the students a lot, you're really trying to minimize that. But I feel like cutting the funding with SEI personally, I always wanted to go to college, and I feel like I just wasn't on track until I was put into their program, and they took us on multiple tours to different schools where it kind of opened my horizons and kind of showed me like there are different ways to educations, and using like kind of resources and networking with people, they can kind of help you get into the right spaces. And SEI, I'm from the Southeast, so really I had no idea what SEI was. I live kind of like in the Madison district, and my mother actually went to Jeff, and she always said how she wished she had joined SEI because she's seen what like it can lead you to. And once I enrolled in Jeff, she like instantly put me in because she already knew once I was in, it was gonna send me like straight on track and just kind of help me in my future. And I just couldn't imagine SEI losing. I just couldn't imagine SEI kind of losing out on anything, just especially today, just hearing like what the cuts could do. It just kind of like breaks my heart because knowing like the cuts could make me lose my coordinator, or it could kind of just make me other children miss out on the opportunities that SEI has put me in on. It just really hurts. And I just hope they like realize that I know they're trying to help out smaller community like organizations, but I don't think they'll realize the hurt until they do take that funding and realize like how many people, as much as they're thinking it's affecting positively, it will negatively impact like a lot of people in this room. Because as much like I'm with a lot of my senior friends right now, and we're going, but some of us couldn't go to college without SEI. Like realistically, some of us couldn't. Like several of my friends right now are going to HBCUs where we don't know what we're gonna do. We don't know what we're gonna do when tuition comes, when room and board comes, when all these fees come up, but SEI comes through. They pay for our housing. They paid for our applications. They pay for literally anything. If they're able to give, they do, because they want us on the right track, and they know that just those little fees that they pay for is gonna lead us like down the best road. And I just look at it and I'm just so sad. Like, and I just hope you guys just hear like our testimonies and realize what kind of impact it's really making. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So after these two, we'll have you come up.
Greetings, Board Chair, Directors, and Superintendent. My name is Ana Munoz, and I lead Strategy 5 under Latino Networks Racial Equity and Social Justice Programs. But more than anything, I'm a community member, I'm a community leader, and I'm here on behalf of parents. ¿Dónde están los padres latinos aquí presente? All parents? Yeah. Parents are crying out for help. They want services that can help their children succeed. Their teachers are crying out for help. Social emotional services are needed. Mental health services are needed. And we know the schools cannot provide it. So ResJ partners are here to help. We're here to supplement the support that teachers and school staff cannot provide to these children. That's why we're here. PPS Board has adopted Board Policy 2.10.010-P, which is the PPS Racial Educational Equity Policy. The policy addresses the district commitment to succeed in serving every student in every school in PPS. The work ResJ partners do align with the 6 goals you have established under the PPS policy. The goals include culturally specific family engagement, wraparound services for student success, mentoring and leadership strategies, enrichment during extended day programming, positive culturally identity development, racially and linguistically staff, and professional development to eliminate racial and ethnic disparities. That's the work we do. That's the work ResJ partners do every single day in your schools. Partially funding ResJ is not complying with your own policy. ResJ partners are in your schools to supplement the work teachers and school staff already do. Our work goes beyond the PPS ResJ's contractual agreements. We serve as your eyes and ears. We are carrying adults in your hallways, playgrounds, cafeteria, and other spaces that your staff cannot cover. we ask that you model how the PPS racial educational equity policy should be enforced, and that is by fully funding the RESJ programs. Please consider how you are planning to invest the funding for student support. Our culturally, linguistically, immigrant, and refugee PPS students deserve excellence, and it cannot happen without funding. So please consider the funding you have for us.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, Chair Hollins, Vice Chair Green, Superintendent Husk, Student Representative Silverstein, and esteemed School Board/Budget Committee. My name is Angela Bonilla, and I am the PAT President. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with kudos. So first, a kudos to the students and community members that came to speak, prepared or not, to share their lived experiences in schools. We know that the best way to undo the harm done by adverse childhood experiences is to have one consistent, caring adult who holds the child in unconditional positive regard. So that means that they have that one person they know that actually cares, who actually believes them when they say, I'm sorry, it was a mistake, help me fix it. And we always know that we need more student-facing staff, not less. Kudos to the PAT members and PPS teams who are showing up to our multiple bargaining sessions for our restorative justice coordinators, social workers, pre-K educators, and substitute educators. We're doing good work. I hope PPS can just, agree with everything we've proposed, and then we'll be done really quickly. Kudos to Stacey Jung in HR, who's working nonstop to try to figure out the partial FTEs of our counselors, our dance, music, art, library, and PE educators who have, so that they can get full positions so we can try to avoid layoffs. She really cares about our educators and is responding to emails that I'm CC'd on with a lot of compassion. Also, just a shout out to our Portland community that's been lobbying, marching, calling, writing letters, putting pressure on the governor to reassess our school funding model. The governor's team is reassessing the current service level formula so that we'll be able to start from a more honest place of what we actually need at the next funding session, legislative session, versus trying to fight our way out of a hole that doesn't reflect the actual needs of our students. And lastly, a kudos to everyone who has voted or plans to vote by tomorrow and is voting yes on the Portland Teachers Levy, which is specifically allocated to fund 655 teaching student-facing positions. So I'm here to share, I got to put in that make sure you vote plug. I'm here to share some suggestions around the budget that you all have before you to approve. So in our analysis of the budget, we found a few things. We found some good news. The district has cut expenditures overall in the fiscal year 25 proposed budget compared to the previous year in the general and special revenue funds. And unlike in previous years, the district's general fund budget actually increased spending on instruction and cut spending on some of the low priority functions. So, yay. Although only 3 administrator FTEs were added to the general fund overall, there are 10 additional positions created for the next budget, which will cost an additional $1.6 million. That's a nice job, huh? Though the number of non-represented FTE budgeted to the general fund fell in this fiscal year, 2025, compared to the adopted budget in 24, there are still several more, 22 additional of those folks adopted represent in the current budget over the 24 budget, which costs an additional $2.2 million. So our biggest concerns are around 2 funding pieces that we hope could be used to avoid layoffs, ensure that our special education departments are fully staffed, and round out our core enrichment, arts, music, dance, library, drama, CTE, FTE. So there's that $3.1 million adjustment provided by ODE on May 14th of this year. I want to make sure that I clarify. I asked Dr. Husk and the interim CBO, Myung Lee, has this been budgeted? And if so, where and what budget line? Dr. Husk replied, we are looking for that answer, but Myung no longer works here, so we're going to try to figure out how we can get that answer. So we want to recommend that all those funds, if not yet allocated, are allotted to avoid layoffs. We know it's not much, but if we can use those funds to avoid cutting student-facing positions, that would be best. Since 2019, the district has increased the number of budgeted administrators and non-represented staff while cutting licensed staff. The district added so many administrators and non-represented FTEs during the time period that even with some position reductions in the proposed budget, there are still 189 more administrators and non-represented FTE in this 25 budget than there was in the 2019, right? And so when we talk about reducing staff to pre-COVID, pre-ESSER levels, we have to really ask, why are there some groups that are exempt from these cuts while licensed and classified positions are cut year after year? What does it look like to right size the administrative and non-represented positions? According to PPS, this budget also includes a $5.9 million increase for STEP and COLA for those folks, and that 166 of them earn more than $125,000 a year, while making cuts to programs like our feeding teams and our school libraries. After conversations with the superintendent and the board chair, I came to learn that only some of those positions earn that $125,000. So what could we save if we asked those who earn the most in our organization to take a freeze of their increase, not a cut, but a freeze for 1 year to ensure that we do not have to do layoffs? We question why, after the loss of ESSER funds, we maintain so many administrative positions and can find funds to increase those salaries while licensed classified staff face cuts year after year. You know, in summary, I want to make sure that I'm asking y'all to get those answers to those questions before approving or adopting a budget for next year. Asking, has this money from ODE been budgeted? I've been told yes, but I haven't been given where in the budget, what the budget line or budget number is. And if not, can we allocate that to avoid layoffs and cuts to student-facing positions? And how much could we save if we were to have a freeze for that small group above 125 so that we can ensure that we do not have libraries closed across the district most of the week? Please do not vote to approve a budget without answers to these questions and a clear commitment to invest any of those funds into student-facing positions. Thank you.
Excuse me, Ms. Bonita?
Yes.
Can I ask a question for clarification's sake? And it's just to clarify the last part that you just mentioned about the 125,000. So is that a question, are you asking for across the board within the district, everyone who makes more than $125,000? So would that be inclusive of educators as well that make more than that, or is that
No,
just?
none of us make more than $125,000.
Okay. So you're only asking for anyone who makes?
We're talking about the administrative and non-represented, the folks who are not bound by a contract, because we fear that if you try to
The ones not bound by
supplement a contract, you end up with a unfair labor practice or like bargaining in bad faith, and we're not asking y'all to get into that type of legal situation.
So you're specifically looking for and I just want to make sure that I'm clear, that you're specifically looking for people who don't currently have a contract that has negotiations that we would have to go through, that we could just do this with?
Non-represented and administrative,
Okay.
yeah.
And so I want to make sure I'm clear, because I want to make sure I let them know about the whole conversation. Part of the whole conversation was also to look at across the board cuts for everyone to be able to save all of our student-facing positions. And that would take the partnership of PAT and all the other union leaders as well. So it wasn't just one group taking cuts.
Yeah.
It was everyone looking at taking cuts in order to save those student-facing positions.
Yeah, and when I had a further conversation with our superintendent and talking about what the legal ramifications of that might be, especially with contracts that were just bargained, there could be that claim that there was bad faith bargaining, and I don't want that to happen with our district because we're all trying to move forward together.
No, I get it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking about the kids, the legal stuff we leave to Liz, to figure out, and I'm sure if we all are in agreement, I'm sure that we can potentially come up with something that we can save, most of all of our students facing positions for the benefit of our kids, right? So I'm hoping we can at least have those conversations. at some point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can always have a conversation.
Okay, yeah, whether it happens or not, I would just love to have that. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I would love at least to have that conversation to see where we could go with that, because I think in the interest of all of our kids, I think that should be our North Star, to make that happen. So I would hope that we can at least try to engage some kind of conversation with that, not just with PAT, but with all of our other union leaders as well.
A clarifying question. So it's not a cut, though. You're asking for a freeze on any increases just for the year.
In order
For the
to
new
avoid
school year.
layoffs. Yep.
In order to avoid layoffs. Okay, but it's not a cut. No,
No.
one's getting money taken away. They're
It
just
would-
not getting a cost of living increase next year.
Yeah, and just for
or merit increase.
Yeah.
I see you. Andrew has
Well,
his hand up.
yeah, thanks for the comment. I think it is a cut from what they would get, and I guess I would just, if teachers didn't get their merit increase, I think they would consider that a cut. If our other employees didn't get a merit increase or a COLA increase, they would consider that a cut. So I don't think it's fair to say it wouldn't be a cut. It would be a cut, particularly with inflation going the way it is. That's what cost of living is intended to take into account.
All right, any other questions?
Sorry. Oh, I just wasn't sure if I missed a question. Sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay, great.
Patty has a question.
Yes.
Yes. We just got all this information this afternoon, about 2 o'clock. So we had no time to try to find the answers to your questions. And yet I think you've had the questions for a while.
Well, I've had the first question about the adjustment. We didn't know what the adjustment was until it was released on the 15th. And we are working with our strategic researcher to get that research done. So we've had some of that information, but not all of it. And we wanted to make sure we had all that information before we shared it with y'all. But we also know that this board still has to adopt the budget on June 11th. And so there is time to research, ask questions, and be able to make amendments if necessary. I was also used to getting answers pretty quickly when Mi-young was here, and so there was also that issue of like asking a question, thinking it'd be pretty quick to get the response, and then realizing that person no longer works here and can't give the answer. So I apologize for that.
We all miss him. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other
He is
questions?
still alive and fine.
Oh, no worries.
Just want to clarify.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Tony Hobson, President and CEO of Self Enhancement Inc. Thanks. Did I hear you? Oh, wow. You heard that? Yeah, I done passed
Your
the
mic
baton
is
over
on.
here. So, first of all, appreciate the opportunity just to say a few words. I mean, to me, it's almost, to be honest with you, it's almost insulting to be sitting at this table having this conversation, given the magnitude of the work in SEI, the impact that we have had on this community for almost 40 years, the outcomes that we get. We have a better graduation rate than just about anybody in America with black kids, and have done that for 30 years straight. So to be here fighting over money when we say this is about equity and it's about black and brown children, for us to have to come to the table to fight over and over again for this, it's just insulting to me. We give the district more than the district gives us. For every dollar you give us, we bring $9 to support children and families in our community. When this district can't get black kids to go to summer school, they call us. And we create the summer school for black kids, and your teachers work with us in our summer school. When COVID hit and you couldn't get tablets to kids, you called us to get tablets to black kids because you couldn't find them. We did that for you. When the strike happened and you wanted to find black kids, again, you called us. You called SEI so that we could provide you an opportunity for black kids to get some services because you can't do it. Have never been able to do it without us. when Jefferson was on the line, ready to be closed, I sat in this very room and had a board member say, I got enough votes to close Jefferson High School. We stood up in the community and said, give us more money and we'll turn Jefferson around. At the time, they had a 54% graduation rate. 4 years later, it was 93% graduation rate. Granted, I don't have nothing negative to say about anybody else that was involved, but the only thing that changed at Jefferson, we went from 50 kids to 350 kids. Same teachers, same program at PCC, the only thing that changed was us. So we don't see ourselves as your partner. We are an extension of Portland Public Schools. So again, it's a little insulting given those kind of outcomes and the history that we have with you and the way that you have used us for us to get a cut of 65%. And let me just say this about small programs. They got nothing against small programs because we used to be one. But here's the difference. As long as you're trying to give money to everybody, all you will ever make is a difference with individuals. But if you want to make the difference, you got to go all in. You got to go all in. You got to give more money to those who actually have the outcomes. You cannot continue to support everybody and think that you're going to ever make the difference. That's why Portland Public Schools ain't making the difference right now, because you're trying to please everybody. You can't please everybody. Go with what works, scale it up, and then we can finally get to making the difference. I'm going to give the mic to Trent. So if you want to know how these cuts would hurt us, he has that information.
Thank you. Chairs, directors, thank you for the time. My name is Trent Aldridge, Aldridge. I'm the Chief Program Officer of Self-Enhancement. And it's really hard to follow that always. But what I will say is we were given notice on a Thursday where we had to create $1.5 million cut to turn it in today. And I think it speaks to the relationship Mr. Hobson is talking about, where you feel taken advantage of because you're not even given the courtesy of communicating this in enough time where you can make an adjustment. But what this is all of the young people you saw today. Those are actual faces of people that will be impacted. I agree with Mr. Hobson that new, younger organizations with no effort so far, where the young people you saw today, those will be people impacted. There'll be an individual assigned to each of them to support them year-round, 365 days a year. That's wraparound supports for their family, energy, rental, social emotional, anti-domestic violence. You name the service, they will lose that. And then we talk about the human beings, the superheroes we hire to support them. We had 3 or 4 days to figure out how would we tell these individuals their lives were directly impacted overnight. And so I say that we understand the difficulties of making budget adjustments. Absolutely. As a nonprofit, we get that. But it has to be proportional, right? And it has to be for folks that haven't proven what we've proven. So I am really appreciative of the opportunity here, but it has to be some mutual respect, because when you call, we answer. But when 4 days to make this kind of cut or an adjustment to people's lives, students, family, community, and staff, it is profoundly difficult to make those decisions. And so my encouragement is make it a little more equitable, make it a little more fair so that we can continue to touch the lives that you heard today. There's no better way to demonstrate it than the young people we had today. And so I appreciate the opportunity, but it is difficult to continually prove ourselves year in and year out when we've been here the longest. We've seen multiple superintendents. We see principals over and over again. In all due respect, boards over and over and over again, but we have to prove ourselves. And so I would just say, let's try to make it fair and equitable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, don't leave. Don't leave. So, thank you, Mr. Hobson. Thank you, Mr. Aldridge, for stepping up. I might add that 4 was that's a stretch, because that would imply that we don't expect you to have lives on the weekends and spend your Saturday and Sunday managing this stuff. And so, but thank you for working through the weekend diligently, try to figure out an issue that you shouldn't have had to figure out. But with that being said, can you share with us, possibly maybe on a high-level overview, the direct impact? I'm looking at, if you're serving currently right now, I think I heard you say 325 or 350 students within Jeff, and we're cutting you. How many kids are you serving?
So currently we have 333 students at Jefferson High School. This cut would impact 183 of them.
So, is it over?
Almost half.
Yeah, almost half.
Well over, sir.
Well over half. And that's just in one school?
Yes, sir.
That's just in one school. And you would be making these level cuts at all of your other participating schools?
It would impact everything in terms of the scope and scale in which we do it. We serve elementary students that make their way to middle schools that make their way to Jefferson High School.
Absolutely.
And so all of those services would be impacted in our way of making that a continuum of services. So not only does that mean 183 students don't have that superhero in their life, or their family doesn't have those services, but the scholarships disappear, that $1 to $9 ratio disappears. All of that is just exponentially bigger as we go along.
But here's one other thing that I don't think we talk about enough, because we have so many kids who don't live in the Jefferson, Grant, Roosevelt area. They live in Outer East. Many of them only showing up based on us. I mean, if they're not in SCI, they're not coming to Jefferson High School. So when you start thinking about the cuts, your numbers are going to go up, because it could be that 50 to 75 kids decide they're not coming. So Portland Public isn't getting the dollars for those kids anymore, because they're going to be out at Reynolds or at Park Rose or David Douglas instead of coming here. What we've been able to create, like the student said, is a home. They're coming because they're connected to something, and they feel more connected to us than they do to Portland Public.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we shared with all of my colleagues and all of those listening the significance of the impact, and how it directly, almost immediately, begins to impact students and families that look just like me. And look just like my nephew, and look just like, you know what I'm saying, my little cousin, my son. So I'm extremely concerned about this, which is why I wanted to make sure that the word got out that this is not what we do. And on behalf of PPS, because I am PPS now, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I can't sit here and try to hide it. I am PPS. You know what I'm saying? They say you are, I am here. I can't try to say that was them, that's not me. We do value the work that you're doing. We do see the impact that you're having. And there may be spaces where we're trying to figure out how we're going to do it, and we're trying to juggle a lot, and then there's some times where we have to reconsider, and we have to think differently, and we're trying to do all that. But I don't want you to leave here, nor the people to leave here, thinking that we don't see you or the impact that you're having, because we do. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Let me just say this: we are Portland Public Schools as well. Born and raised. See, so all we want to say is that we are your biggest ally.
Absolutely.
And but like Trent said, it needs to just go both ways. I mean, we are your biggest ally. When you talk about black students in Portland Public Schools, you can't have that conversation without talking about Self-Enhancement Inc. So let's use that to our benefit as opposed to taking away. Quite frankly, you need to be adding more money to what we do. Realistically.
Hold on. Patty has something to say.
This is a very simple question. You said you're Jeff. Are you at other high schools as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Roosevelt High School, Grant High School.
Great, okay.
And McDaniel.
And McDaniel, just this year.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, thank you.
And we'd love to be in all of them. Just take enough money.
You might be.
Get right in there today.
Good evening. My name is Sadie Figueroa, Deputy Director of Programs at Latino Network. Thank you for this discussion and for raising this issue. We too were dismayed, surprised, disappointed, insulted with the little to no notice and turnaround with the steep cuts, as you mentioned, Vice Chair Green, of 40% to our current funding at Latino Network. What I want to share with you is similar to what you've heard already, but we too are really proud of the work that we do, of the young people that participate in our programs and that graduate to go on to do great things. Last year, we graduated 100% of our Escalera seniors, and 98% of them are in college right now. The other 2% in vocational training. And that doesn't just happen in high school. You all know that. You run a pre-K through 12 educational system. And so do we alongside you. Our investment starts in pre-K, in early childhood with Juntos Aprendemos, supports children in middle school, high school, all the way to graduation and beyond with scholarship support and post-secondary support. The notice we received late last week gutted that continuum of support in Portland Public Schools for us. And we're still grappling with that as we sit here today, 2 hours after the deadline to submit our reduced scope of work. And many of us outside greeted each other. You know, we all know each other, love each other, and thought, here we are again. We are back here again after years, after decades of sitting in this space, fighting over crumbs and defending the work that we do, defending the young people we serve. Now, many of us also sat here in support many years ago when the racial equity policy was adopted. We sat here and we celebrated, we supported, we said we are all in. And we are still all in, and we are all in to see you fund this work fully. Because where we put our dollars is what we care about. It's what we care about. It's the message we send to our young people. We're telling them you matter, or we're telling them you don't matter. And so you've heard it already from everyone here today, but I urge you as well to restore the RESJ funding, to take a deeper look at those cuts. We look forward to the negotiation that we heard about today that was not made clear to us until this evening. So we do look forward to that, and we will be negotiating that funding level and scope of work, and appreciate support from the board in that going forward. And I want to pass it to my colleague here who will share testimony from one of our students.
Hello, I'm Amy Machado. First name E-Y-M-M-Y, last name M-A-C-H-A-D-O. So bear with me, I'm not good at public speaking. But these budget cuts are very triggering for me. So last year, the Escalera program at Franklin High School, which is where I work, was cut, and it got reinstated after advocacy from the parents, admin, Franklin staff, and community members. So I'm gonna go ahead and read some testimonies from Franklin Escalera alumni. Hello, my name is Cassie. I am writing to ask you to support the continuation of Latino Network's Escalera program at Franklin High School. I am a Franklin alumni, and I am now part of the SUN program. She works there now. The Escalera program is important because it gives Latino Hispanic students a community. I started Escalera my senior year. I was struggling, if I'm being honest. I had poor attendance and even worse grades. Meeting Amy was a blessing. She was probably the reason why I graduated. She helped me communicate with my teachers, but most importantly, she gave me a space to talk. I was going through a rough time, and whenever I need someone to speak to, she made herself available. It felt nice to feel like a priority.
especially from someone I considered above me. I graduated and now I have a gap year in front of me. What I had planned was working and saving some money before I went back to school, and Amy knew that. A position at the SUM program at Franklin was made available, and Amy was the first to reach out to me to see if I was interested. She got me in contact with the SUN manager, who is now my supervisor, and helped me fill out the application. I started working at Franklin October of 2023, and have been surprised to say the least. I am now seeing the behind the scenes of what Escalera is and how much goes into it. Amy put so much effort to make sure her students are taken care of and that they are where they're supposed to be. They're meeting their graduation requirements. She does constant check-ins with students and goes above and beyond to find them resources. I was so grateful as a student now, even more seeing all the effort she puts behind the scenes. Students come and look for her to seek help, but more often to speak with her about their days and their problems. She will drop almost anything to give them a space. I'm glad other students got to experience what I did and still do. She's been a rock for me.
Thank you.
This is from a former, also, Escalera student. I am a former Escalera student and first-year undergraduate at USC. Fight on. The Escalera program is important because it was one of the only resources for Latino students at Franklin High School, and it is. Growing up in a primarily white city, attending schools where less than a quarter of students are Latine, my culture hasn't always felt represented at school. Even in English class, the best they could do is teach us how to make sugar skulls. Escalera was the resource that my peers and I had so desperately longed for during our senior year of high school. Amy was among the minority of staff members. I felt comfortable reaching out to her when I needed help. She fostered a supportive environment for Latina students and opened the door for many wonderful opportunities for us. Thanks to Escalera, I was able to build lifelong bonds with my friends and stay afloat during the most pivotal year of high school. Amy helped me fill out college applications that got me into top schools, which he did. He got a full ride. And helped revise college scholarship essays that awarded me hundreds of thousands of dollars to pursue higher education, an opportunity no one in my family has ever received. It is because of Amy and the Escalera program at Franklin that I am able to attend a university as a first-year queer student of color. I will carry the activities participated and the lessons I learned about my culture forever in my memory. It's my hope that the opportunity to participate in this wonderful program won't be taken from other students. How many of you have a graduating senior? Yes. No? Okay.
All my kids is long gone. They good. They all graduated from PPS, but they gone.
Do any of y'all know any mixed families? So a mixed family is a child who was born in the United States and their parent was born outside, like a different country.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Have any of you heard of the new FAFSA?
Yes.
I don't know how to say that FAFSA was my biggest headache this
The
year,
FAFSA, yeah.
and it affected mixed families, it affected students, and I'm curious to see a year from now what the data is going to look like, but I'm pretty confident I could stand up here and say that the workshops that Escalera held for parents and their child to fill out that FAFSA is the reason why those kids have a FAFSA turned in, for sure. And it's not easy to look a parent in their eye and while they're crying and you're trying to hold back tears and telling them that it will be okay because I'm there to help them. And I'm not trying to dismiss the work of the counselors or the college and career coordinators, but I am bilingual and I can help these families. Just like Roosevelt, at Jeff, at I'm blinking out, all the other PPS, RESJ funded high schools, like we are needed. I don't think y'all want to be the reason why students aren't turning in their FAFSAs. Like, it's sad to see it.
We don't, and I can tell you from creating programs that sit down with families to help them fill out FAFSA. Even those of us that understand, I've filled out thousands of FAFSA applications, helped hundreds of kids go through, had Saturday workshops, and with all I know, and it's forever changing, I still don't know that I know it all, and families that haven't done it before know even less. And so I want to make sure that I tell you for that and the work that you're doing, thank you for all of it.
Thank you. The new FAFSA requires parents to have a social security, and a lot of our families don't, and so we need to bypass that, and that took months. I had a student who started a FAFSA in December and just submitted it 4 weeks ago.
Gotcha. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think that's the end of public comment. I do want to make an amendment. I want to propose an amendment to restore 1.8 to the Racial Equity and Social Justice Contract Budget and direct the superintendent to bring the board a new set of proposals no later than June 3rd for the Res J contracts for 2024-25 school year. The new contract amount will be included in the adopted budget the board will consider on June 11th. The $1.8 million will be taken from reserves tonight, and there is possibility it may be amended when we consider the adopted budget. Do I get a
second?
I move.
All right, so we have a motion, and a second. Right. All right, any discussions around the amendment?
Yeah, I'd like you to just explain it to me clearly again.
Okay, so what the amendment is asking is that we take $1.8 million just right now from our reserve funds to put it towards the Res J department or contracts, and to restore the contracts almost back to its original amount. And then while they're doing the negotiations and figuring out where the money can come from, then they bring that back to us by June 3rd to be able to vote on the adopted budget by June 11th.
And we can do that? We can just, at this moment,
Yeah, that's
decide
what the
what to
amendment's
do
for.
with our fund?
Absolutely.
I'm fully supportive of this, and I heard at the beginning of the meeting an indication from the superintendent and also from senior staff, a willingness to work through this with our longtime partners. And fortunately, with the budget process, we actually get 2 opportunities. So tonight's the approval, which is really the first step, and then the final vote, which is adoption, comes later. And so hopefully there will be time between now and then to work something out. So I'm very supportive.
I'm also supportive, 100%. I was really moved by all of the testimony, but particularly around the policy, our racial equity and educational policy, and that we are not following our own policy was really impactful. Also, if we want to see different outcomes, which I think all of us up here do, we need to change the way we need to restore this funding. Thank you.
Any other comments, discussions from the board? Andrew has a hand up.
Yeah, I guess my question, Chair Hollins, is why we need to do this tonight instead of make these amendments in the adopted budget process where we can be clear where the money's going to come from.
Well, I think the fact that we have funds for it, a spot for it to come from already, I don't think we need to delay how that is during the adoption process. If we already have an avenue to do that, we might as well do that now.
And I guess my follow-up question is, does this take our reserves below 5%, which would violate our board policy? Which of course the board can do that, but I want to know if that's going to happen.
I'm not sure where we're at on our reserve funds at the moment. But even once again, by just earmarking those funds right now from the reserve funds, we interim superintendent Dr. Huss and their team can figure out where they can find that money from and come back with us with an alternative.
Yeah, I know Superintendent has cast her hand up, so I'm concerned about the precedent it sets to go below our 5% if that's where we are, when we don't need to. Again, we're not approving contracts tonight. We can come back and make amendments in the adopted budget, and I think I'm troubled by this very last minute amendment on the approved budget.
All right, Dr. Huss would like to speak.
I just wanted to make sure I was clear. So the amendment is that you are approving the budget as presented with a change to restoring the 1 point, whatever the dollar amount is, back to the ResJ contracts. And that change, that improvement there would reduce the reserve. Is that correct?
Correct, but
then the June 3rd vote is just on the ResJ contracts that are over 150,000.
No, the June 3rd is that you would no later than June 3rd come back with a proposal, assuming there's conversations that will be happening between you and the staff and the partner organizations, and bring something back so that there is 8 days between that and the final budget adoption on June 11th.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Patty had her hand raised.
Yeah, I'm just a little bothered by the fact that, I mean, granted, these were great presentations and we want them to have their money. But there have been people here for art, for library, they're for all sorts of great reasons to get more money. And tonight we're just deciding on the spur of the moment, we're going to pull money out of the reserve. And isn't there time to really take time to discuss it instead of knee-jerk reaction, which we could have done with any of these people who've come before?
Well,
I want to speak to that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to. So I'm a graduate of Portland Public. My family was bused out of this neighborhood, and this does not feel knee-jerk to me. It feels so long overdue.
Okay.
It's not new, and the disinvestment of our kids of color is in this district is not new. You know, we have a 172-year history, and it is not a new. It's not a knee-jerk reaction for me. I've been thinking about this for 50 years, maybe only 40, but a long, long time. And I've as an adult, have been watching the outcomes and watching the kids not graduating and watching the kids that were failing, and I've been brokenhearted over it. And so this isn't a reaction. This is a time where I feel like now is the time. We have an opportunity in front of us to serve the kids that we know that we haven't currently and historically are not serving.
We got Andrew and then Eddie and then Director Brim-Edwards.
Yeah, I think what troubles me is we don't know what the trade-off is. And I think that's not a good way to budget. I hear you saying you want the superintendent to come back, but if the superintendent comes back and says, you know, we're going to lay off a number of teachers in order to pay for this additional $1.8 million, roughly 18 to 20 teachers, are we comfortable with that? If the superintendent comes back and says, we're going to make other cuts, you know, to, you know, student-facing services, are we comfortable with that? I mean, I guess what also troubles me is the board, we've known that the ResJ budget was going to be cut. This is not a surprise. We were told weeks, if not months ago, by the superintendent and her team that this was going to be part of the $30 million budget cuts. I know we just got information about the specific allocations, but it feels more like we as a board kind of gave the green light that we knew we'd have $30 million. We're going to have to cut lots and lots of stuff. But it was when we cut specific organizations, and again, this is the judgment of the superintendent or team in terms of allocate the funds. Now, all of a sudden, we're sort of raising this at the last minute, and we're saying we're going to restore that funding without knowing what the trade-off's going to be. There's a better process here, which is to say, let's have the conversation over the next 2 or 3 weeks, figure out if those trade-offs are worth it. Because to Director Sullivan's point, there are lots of things I want to restore in this budget. This is one of them. Hearing the testimony tonight, I will agree, is powerful. But the question is not what do we want to fund. The question is what are the trade-offs of that funding? And I don't think anyone on this board knows what that trade-off is tonight, because if we did, we would be making that as the amendment. And so I'm troubled by this. I'm troubled that we knew it was coming, and it feels like now it's more picking and choosing among providers and second guessing, you know, the staff recommendation, which as a board, it's our right to do that. I'd like to see a little bit more data. on why the allocations were made as they were, why we think and staff believe that the allocations as they are going to further education for Black and brown students in this district. And I don't think we've had that conversation yet.
Eddie, Director Wong.
Yeah, excuse if I sound nasally, I'm homesick. I mean, I have nothing but respect for SCI. I mean, they're not just a partnership, but they're a historic partnership. I mean, we've been working with them. They're part of Portland. Everything they said was true and very moving. I do also agree with Director Scott. I think we need time. I need time to think about and get all the data to figure out where. I mean, there could be different solutions. There could be better solutions for SCI. Who knows? The thing is, you know, it'd be. I guess I would need to also know the trade-offs and also the data behind why these decisions were made. What are some other contracts that we might be also could consider or look at that we could draw money from? You know, I just think there could be other solutions rather than this very specific direct thing that it doesn't feel like we have enough time to kind of vet it out. So I don't know. I would like to have a little bit more time to kind of go through this again. Like was mentioned before, this is not our last time to figure this out. We have until the next budget meeting to finally approve or make amendments. So I'm just asking for more time. I don't think I could be ready to decide this at the moment, even though I am a big fan of all the people who spoke today. I just think there may be different solutions that may work better. And I would also want to hear staff's report on why some of these decisions were made.
Director Green.
I'd like to state that what we are asking for is what we did not give: time. We gave, we're asking because we're saying that we need more time to deliberate, more time to understand. We're asking for what we ourselves did not actually give, which was more time. And so to the, you know, we need time, I would say we all need time. But to say to someone, you have essentially 72 hours to make a decision, sign this so that we can move on. And we all understand, we've done these award letters before. An award letter is, this is what you're going to get. It's not a negotiation to come back to say, all right, now tell me what you think. So for us to say that is disingenuous. What we really sent out was, this is what we're planning to give you. We saw what you sent over, and thank you. And so to that, I would say that. To the options or the questions around why would we say this now? Why not wait? To that, I would say what we're doing right now is saying to restore the Res J budget, which I also want to put on the record that Director Hollins has been asking every time it comes up. How did we get to where we're at as it pertains to Res J? What formula did we use to establish what that cut was going to be? So this has come up, but the question of how did we get here, or how did we get here with this cut, has also come up, to which we haven't had a response. And so to that argument, I would say, well, what we're doing now is we're saying, providing clear direction that says, restore the budget, and then now you can go back, and if you feel like there's another way or another space, another place that this can be done, then absolutely. But you have direction that says restore the budget, and so figure out how to make this work, because the impact of what we're going to do is going to negatively impact our Black and brown students significantly. For me, I'm not comfortable with that. And so that's why wait, okay? Why not wait? Because we can do it now. And if we can do it now, and then maybe they come back and they say, well, you know, after looking at it, this is what it is, and this is where the reserves are going to be, and this is, now we can have a full holistic conversation, but without pressure, people generally go with the least resistance. What I feel is happening tonight is pressure.
All right, Interim Superintendent Dr. Huss.
Thank you. I was doing a double hand raise in case you didn't see.
I seen it.
Chair Hollins. I know I don't get to vote, but I would like to say having a decision tonight would be extremely helpful to the staff because it at least begins a process for us understanding that restoring this is a preference of the majority of the board. And that then gives us more direction on the work that we need to do. I'm worried that if we delay a vote on the amendment, that it will provide more white space or noise, and we won't have the direction of what we need to do. It will still be hard work, even with Restore It, because as you remember, Dr. Adams said we had 17 million in requests. So even if it's restored to the 8 point, what it was this current budget year, there will still be a lot of pain in informing these organizations that they won't be getting full allocations. So I just wanted to add that in case it's helpful.
Well, that's helpful because it is sort of one of my questions. Is this amendment restoring the ResJ budget in totality, or is this amendment restoring the cuts that have been made to specific organizations?
Yeah, it's to the ResJ budget in totality. So it's not just one, it's all.
And so staff are going to go back. They've already made an allocation at the 7 point whatever million. Now they're going to go back at the higher, the 1.8 million more, and then decide what the organizations where they think are going to have the most impact on our Black and brown students.
Correct.
That's the way I understood it. But it also gives us more direction on the final budget presentation because now we know an exact number instead of having to wait another week or two. That's why I would encourage a vote tonight if it's the majority of the board moving in that direction.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just gonna say I'm actually this is what's really frustrating is that an amendment to increase the ResJ budget by 1.8 million that was offset, that we knew where it was coming from, I would support that. What I'm not going to support is an amendment that just pretends like we've got 1.8 million, but we don't know where it's from yet. And I hear what the superintendent's saying. We could give that direction tonight to come back and find that cut, and we could consider that. But I want to restore this budget, but we don't have magic money to throw, and we don't know. Nobody on this board, not a single board member knows whether the impacts of the cuts will be greater or worse than the impact of cutting the ResJ budget because we don't have that information and haven't had that discussion. So I'm not opposed to increasing it, but I'm still going to vote no for this amendment because we should have given this direction weeks ago. We knew this cut was coming. Not a single one of us should pretend we didn't because we were briefed on it and told about it. So this feels like the board dropped the ball here. If our goal was to increase the ResJ budget back to where it was, we should have given that direction a long time ago.
All right, thank you. We want to call on Liz wants to speak as well.
Just to offer I want to make some seek clarification for the technical resolution that you have before you on attachment A. So the effect of the $1.8 million move is to move it from the ending fund, from contingency, into instruction. And that's where the CBO budget hits. But as we're trying to track the amendment to the budget, the very technical budget document that has certain requirements, I want to make sure we're clear on that. Other instruction about interim steps and reporting out to the board is outside this document. I think we want to be clear on what your intent is, and we can amend this, but I want to make sure the line items on the attachment A are clear. And I understand from the budget experts that it is from contingency to instruction.
So just a clarification. So the dates and everything else, that can be an amendment to the resolution. And what you're wanting to do is then connect the two line items from the resolution to the budget document.
I want to say it out loud in a public meeting so we're all clear. I think we can move on the direction you've set to amend the resolution, and we can make that happen. But I didn't want that to go unstated on the technical part of the budget.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we had Frankie had her hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could repeat the part about the funding.
Would you like for me to reread the resolution?
Yeah, or just specifically explain again in your own words about what the direction is around where to get the funding to.
So the direction of where to get the funding for tonight will be from the reserve funds. Director Sullivan?
Yeah, I'm with Frankie about wanting to be clear. Julia mentioned, and you mentioned contingency funds. Is that the same as a reserve fund? So when you say that, it's exactly the same thing. Okay.
Director Wong?
I guess my question is what kind of precedent or issues this could cause long-term if we're taking from the reserve fund and we have the policy says we can't go below 5%. What are the legal or policy ramifications of that, or do we need to have a specific amendment or policy that addresses this? I mean, I guess part of the point of a reserve fund is the reserve, right? We use it in emergencies, and you could consider this emergency, but I guess the question is, what are, in terms of best practices and precedent, what are the ramifications of dipping into a reserve fund?
So, Director Wong, to answer your question, it's a board policy, and if it turns out when we adopt the full budget, if we need to waive the policy, we can do that. And we do it by a resolution.
All right, is there any other board discussion?
Well, and so that is what we have as a resolution now. So we can change the reserve.
No, we won't. We don't do that to the adopted budget if it gets
Yeah, we
to
probably
that
don't.
point.
We don't need to waive I would say, until we get to the adoption. Have some
Frankie?
So does anyone know what specifically this would bring the reserve fund to?
We do not, and we'd be doing a lot of predicting to try to say what it would bring it to. We can say what the overall dollar amount is in respect to the 5%. I can get that information back fairly quickly. My guess is it's going to be a very small percent. And I understand the concept does carry serious thought because 5% is a pretty conservative reserve to have. But it's like I said when I did the general presentation, it's like a savings account. You use it for emergencies. But we can find out what the general impact might be. It's just there's a lot of moving parts by the time you get to the next year and see what that reserve would look like.
Any other board comments?
My comment was similar to Frankie's in that if we could get a fine point on what the ending fund balance will be as a percentage of the budget, that would be helpful.
We can do a prediction for sure.
All right. Go ahead.
So just some comments on the timing. I want to say that I really appreciate the time and effort that Superintendent Husk and all the senior staff and the budget team have spent answering a lot of board questions. And, I'm a frequent question asker, or as Claire Hertz used to call me, I'm a frequent flyer in that department. And I know other board members, especially in years in which reductions are being made, there are more questions about the budget and decision-making processes than in years in which we're either flat or we're expanding. And I've got to say, I know Director Wong and I have had a lot of questions about the Southeast Guiding Coalition, sort of balancing FTE that were at play, and it wasn't until this morning that we got some additional information about that. And frankly, when you're in a cuts budget, that there's lots of conversations that need to be had with partners. And I will say that yes, I think Director Hollins and Green and DePass all have been asking about the contracts, and it wasn't until this morning that we got a chart and saw a pretty disproportionate impact without a lot of context. And like I say, that's not a criticism at all of staff. It's just, again, lots of things are landing late because that's what happens when we need to have conversations with our staff, with our outside partners. So for me, I don't think we could have predicted a week ago that there wouldn't have been an amendment come at this time. And one of the advantages, again, of having an approval and adoption is this action tonight will be the board setting direction and giving staff an opportunity to take the time to have those conversations, to look at the budget, to come back to the board. I'm afraid if we wait till June 11th, we're going to be in the exact same position. And so to me, it's unfortunate this night, but it wasn't intentionally waiting till the end. It's just when it happened. And so this is a case of the information. We've found out the information. We're presenting an alternative setting direction, and now we'll have several weeks to work it out. But I don't support waiting till the 11th because I think it's much better to have board be clear in the direction tonight and go from there and have them come back to us. So I'll be supportive of this amendment.
All right.
Sorry, Chair Holmes, I just need to point out, none of that's true. The board can give clear direction tonight to staff to do something to come back at the adopted budget without making an amendment. This amendment doesn't have an offset. We don't know where it's going to come from. That is bad budgeting. And I think to this point of trying to justify it, Director Edwards, as good budgeting, it's not. And again, we can give direction to the staff as a board in this public meeting to come back on the 11th and tell them what we're going to do. We don't have to make the amendment tonight. I need to point that out.
At what point thank you, we thank everybody and call for a vote? I'd like to call for a vote.
All right, let's go ahead and call the vote.
Actually, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, we're calling the vote.
Hmm?
Yeah, our call the questions is over. Now we have to call the vote. Just got to go to the vote. All right, so all in favor of the amendment to restore 1.8 to the racial equity and social justice contract budget and direct the superintendent to bring the board a new set of proposals no later than June 3rd for the ResJ contract for 2024-25 school year. The new contract amount will be included in the adopted budget the board will consider on June 11th. The 1.8 will be taken from the reserve tonight, and there will be possibility it may be amended when we consider the adopted budget. All in favor, say aye. Or yes?
Yes.
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 All opposed?
Yes.
Any abstentions?
I abstain because I didn't get to ask my final question.
Okay.
I didn't hear Director Scott's vote.
He said no. All right, Student Director Silverstein?
Yeah, I abstain as well. I don't feel like there was enough clarity.
All right, thank you. The motion passes with a vote of 4-1 with 4-2 with one abstaining and Student Director Silverstein abstaining as well. So the motion passed. All right. Now we can vote on Resolution 6917 to approve the adopted resolution of 6917. All resolutions approved. All in favor indicate by a vote of yes.
I'm sorry, is this the final?
This is the final vote. Yes, this is the final vote on the
resolution
of the. No, not
6917
6917 as amended.
But are we going to have?
Is there any board discussion?
Oh, okay, something's wrong with me because I do not even understand what we're voting on now.
We're now voting on the budget. We're getting ready to vote on the budget as amended.
Great, okay, thank you.
Okay. So yes, we're voting on the budget as amended. Any board discussion?
So I just have some brief comments. One, I just want to remind everybody to vote because tomorrow we have a local option on the ballot, which is $100 million of our budget. We also are going to, because if this year was hard, next year is going to be even harder with additional reductions that this school community banding together, teachers, staff, principals, central office, board, our community partners to send a message and advocate for better funding from the state is what's going to keep our programs intact and keep our students moving forward. And I also want to, this has been a hard budget year for staff, just given we had a leadership change at the top midway through the budget cycle, and and it's also, I know we've had some really challenging conversations for staff, and also for staff whose positions are being eliminated this next year. That's a really hard and personal cost for them to take, and our schools are going to be impacted by these cuts. And I feel like we've done the best we can to preserve school programming that will help our students reach the goals that we've set out for them. And we really have got to stay focused. Focused on that is that at the end of the day, we got to just continue to accelerate and support our students, especially those students who Portland Public Schools hasn't historically served. So while it's a very challenging budget, I do think that the proposed budget we have before us does probably the best job possible to continue moving us towards sort of better outcomes for our students. So thanks to the staff and the superintendent. And again, we have an opportunity to change things next January when the legislature comes in because we can't have another year of additional cuts. So I'm going to be a yes and vote.
All right. So now, any other comments? All right, the board will now, go ahead, Frankie, Director of Civil Science.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some comments. I feel like overall, this has highlighted that we need to reform our budgeting process. I mean, obviously, no budget is going to be perfect and not everyone's going to be happy, but I do think that everyone should feel like they have been heard. I think we need to make the budget more accessible with more time and opportunities for engagement, because a lack of formal budgeting knowledge doesn't negate the value of someone's voice. It's one thing to see numbers on a page, and it's another to be in the communities where those numbers play out. We need to make sure that everyone can not only understand the budget, but also has the ability to provide feedback on it, feedback that is genuinely considered. And I really want to clarify, I'm not disparaging the work of staff to get info out to the community. Those efforts are seen and greatly appreciated, but I also think that those efforts have been hindered by the way the budgeting process was structured. And I know that we can and will do better, and definitely emphasizing what Director Brim Edwards said, please renew the teacher's levy.
All right, any other comments? Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, this big budget is not going to make anybody happy, but I suppose that's better than having some areas go unscathed and others devastated. But it is still not the outcome that anyone would have wished for. I know that staff has worked long and hard to squeeze the most value that they can from the sources that we have, and that gives me some comfort. I have seen and heard personal stories that make me wonder how so many talented people can stay in the teaching profession. I am hoping that they will, and that we can give them the conditions they need to demonstrate the kind of teaching that our children need and deserve. And to get there, we must all work diligently to get to that QEM, the quality education model that everyone is talking about. I urge everyone, myself included, to get to know the names of your representatives in Salem and tell them your personal stories. Personal stories make a difference. Yesterday, I was canvassing with some teachers and other board members to get out the vote for the levy. My partner was a teacher who shared some frustrations with me. Hearing them personally made this situation more real. And that's what we need to do. That's what happened tonight, and that affected us. That was great. We need to tell our stories. Please make your frustration with this budget, please take your frustration with this budget and put that energy into advocating for enough resources to make our state one of the top education centers in the country. School funding town halls are popping up, and local PTAs have information of ways to get educated and involved. It is really frustrating to work on a budget when money is tight. Thank you to everyone who has spent time and energy advocating for our students in this difficult time. And
Thank you for that.
Do I vote now?
We're about to vote. Any other comments?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
All right. The board will now vote on Resolution 6917 as amended, Budget Committee approval of the 24-25 budget and the imposition of property taxes. All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
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 All opposed? Once again, I'm going to say no, only on principle. This is my protesting of the fact that we have to do a budget knowing we do not have the funds available to be able to serve our kids the way we need to. And I've done this every year. But I think Salem needs to step up or step off of their positions if they cannot make sure that our kids get the funding that at least they say they need it. So that's why I say no. So just want to put that out there. All right, any abstentions? None. Student Director Silverstein?
Yes.
All right, yes. The budget is approved by a vote of 6-1 with Student Director Silverstein unofficially voting yes. The budget committee is now adjourned, and the regular meeting is adjourned too. Thank everyone for coming out.
Thank you.